Why, hello there. I'm Sen. We're in the Book Nook, and today we're going to talk about my past, present, and future of books, what I've just finished, what I'm in the middle of, and what we're going to get into. So, recently, I finished a lovely, cozy fantasy, and it was called The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Liang. And it follows this fortune teller named Tao. She tells small fortunes. She'll tell you, like, the neighbor is going to borrow your frying pan and dent it. And the girl who wants to know if she'll fall in love, that she may kiss this boy at the tavern or whatever they call them. I think it's like a tavern, they don't call them a bar. The farmer's cow might go missing, but they'll find him down by the river and this, that, and the other. So just like little fortunes. And she's been traveling from town to town. And she's also trying to stay under the radar because there is this guild of mages that is from the town where her mother married this guy. They probably want her to come back home because she kind of ran away. She doesn't want to be part of the mages guild. And her mom had remarried and remarried this, like, her stepdad, and she kind of hates her stepdad. He seems kind of awful, and she just doesn't want to go back to that life because her mother, after her father died, she kind of blamed her for a fortune that she told, which was a greater fortune, and that her father ended up dying, and the mom kind of blamed her. And so she's like, her mother, like, when she was a kid, basically wasn't there for her and put all that on her daughter's shoulders. So when the daughter was old enough, she took off and is like, well, my mom doesn't want me. She wasn't supportive of me, so she left. And that's why she wants to keep under the radar, because the Mage Guild will try to take her back to where her family is. And she doesn't want to be part of that because they didn't really seem like they wanted her to be part of that. So, all right, that's kind of a little bit of her backstory. So she's got all that baggage on her shoulders. So she's been going town to town and telling these small fortunes. And she's going down the road one day, and there's this big tree across the road, and she meets these two guys, Mash and Silt. Thankfully, they're not highwaymen. They turn out to be, Mash is looking for his daughter who was taken, and she was kidnapped by raiders. And so he's out there with his friend trying to find his daughter and hope that everything's okay with her. And she doesn't know this, but they help her cut through this tree, and they make camp for the night because it's kind of late by the time they do that. And she tells Mash's fortune, which she thinks is a small fortune. And she's like, "Oh, you're gonna give your daughter a kitten." And he's like, "Are you effing with me? Are you serious right now?" And then she finds out that his daughter was kidnapped by raiders, and that's why they're out here. And so she has to make a decision because she really thought she was just telling a small fortune, but turns out that was kind of a big one. She has to decide if she's going to help them or not. And she decides she's going to. And as they continue on, they end up coming across this other lady that is a baker, and she works for her uncle, and her baked goods smell really good and they taste decent, but they just don't look that good. So a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not gonna eat that. And so her stuff doesn't really sell as well, and she kind of has like low self-esteem. And so she gets her fortune told by Tao, and Tao's like, okay, this is weird, but in my vision that I saw you traveling with me in my wagon. And she's like, the girl Kaina, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go because I'm just staying here with my uncle, and I don't really know what's going on with my life. And yeah, I'll go. I was like, well, I what? You She's like, you don't have to actually do what the fortune does. Sometimes I tell you them, and you don't have to make that decision to do this. And but she decides to come, and so she joins their band as they go and try to find Matt's daughter. And it's so freaking cute. And they also pick up a cat along the way. Fiddleitis is what kinda ends up naming him. And it's just a cute, cozy, heartfelt story. And if you like cozy books, it's really good. And I would highly recommend it. All right, so the other day I had read the book The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and I loved it. And so she's the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I'm like, okay, I need to read this. I'm maybe 40 pages in. And it is a book about nature and her career, and how when she went into botany and she was talking about, like her roots with being an indigenous person, and about how she viewed plants and her knowledge of that, and how the teacher was like, oh, well, then this isn't going to be for you because it's in science and da 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 da. But she still got in, went to school. She kind of loved it, the breaking down of like the different parts of the plant and this and that and the other. But then it's how she comes back around to combine both things which is a beautiful thing because you have like, yeah, all the scientific moving parts and whatnot, but also you want to like see the music and songs of the plants, like their medicinal uses, what they grow well alongside, and what complements them, and all this stuff. And so I'm not too far in yet, but so far it's an absolutely beautiful book, and I love it. I love books about nature. As a gardener who call myself a gardener, my chaos garden, I do grow things, and some things grow well and some things don't grow so well, and it's a ever learning process, and I freaking love it. And so each year I add more stuff to the garden, but I love reading books about nature. So far it's fantastic, and I'll be reading more of that tonight. Now, two books that I'm going to get into. All right, so the first one, it was just kind of like a random one that I like witchy books. So I saw the Book of Witching by C.J. Cook, and I was like, oh, yes, please. I like witchy things. I like the cover. It looks like a crow. Let's tell you about it. Clem gets a call that is every mother's worst nightmare. Her 19-year-old daughter, Erin, is unconscious in the hospital after a hiking trip with her friends on the remote Orkney Islands met a horrifying end, leaving her boyfriend dead and her best friend missing. When Erin wakes, she doesn't recognize her mother, and she doesn't answer to her name and insists she is someone named Nix. Clem travels to the site of her daughter's accident, determined to find out what happened to her. The answer may lie in a dark secret in the history of the Orkneys. A woman wrongly accused of witchcraft and murder 4 centuries ago. Clem begins to wonder whether Erin's strange behavior is a symptom of a broken mind or the effects of an ancient curse. And I thought that sounded right up my alley, and I'm excited to read it. The Book of Witching. We'll be getting into this very soon. This other book I've had on hold at the library because it's one of those just like super hyped up books that I try not to read too much into, because when I believe the hype, sometimes it's a huge letdown, you know? So we're just going into it like, oh, it's a thriller. Cool. And that is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I put this on hold and I was like 200th in line. This has been on hold for months. Let's tell you about it. I haven't watched any reviews on this because I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know anything about it. I've had some people tell me they liked it. They didn't know why I was so hyped. They thought it was decent. Early morning, August 1975, a camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns a summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found again. As the panic search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down the layered mysteries of the Van Laar family and the blue-collar community living and working in its shadow. Moore's multi-breaded story invites readers into a rich and gripping dynasty of secrets. The God of the Woods is a story of inheritance and second chances, the tensions between a family and a community, and a history that will not let any of them go. So, I'll let you know how this is. We'll see. When stuff gets so overhyped and everyone's like, it's amazing, and then you read it and you're like, well, it was good, but was it that good? It like influences your thoughts. Like, I'm supposed to think this is amazing, but maybe I'm gonna look at it harsher than I would have if I hadn't known so many people think it's awesome. Although a lot of times I do like the hyped books, like, Legends and Lattes. I loved that book. And that was super hyped up. What else? A Song for the Wild Bill. Those books, at least I feel like they're super hyped. Love those books. They're amazing. They're so good. So some of them I do think are really good. They do live up to the hype, but I also don't like it when they're super hyped, because then is it like me putting pressure on myself to, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, my brain's rambling off here. I don't know. We'll see, and I'll let you know what I think. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you're a fan of videos where I talk about multiple things I'm reading or have read, next video coming up will be about that. So stick around and check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button. Come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.